In today's video, we're going to be talking about a very intense, very interesting upcoming pattern. We're also going to be talking about our long-range forecast from the CFS model, see how that matches up with our analogs that we've been talking about. So we're going to be going into analogs for the third day in a row. Again, you guys have been eating this up, so I can't help it but to keep giving you guys what you want. So we're going to break them down again in today's video. Be sure to check out the trilogy maps in the description and the pinned comment down below for the highest definition and most customizable digital maps anywhere on the internet. You guys have been eating those up as well. Let's just get into things, and first things first here, we're taking a look at a storm system in the east that we already have taking place here. It's starting to flare up. We saw some thunderstorms overnight, and we're going to continue to see those through the day today. We can see that by the afternoon hour, we're going to have a long kind of linear area of thunderstorms here along this line for the eastern United States. Also, down here for kind of the south central into the deeper south states, we're also dealing with some severe weather across these parts. Very, very interesting stuff. As we move into tomorrow, we can see that this low takes on a very interesting shape as we have the frontal boundaries just kind of swirling here. We also have this area kind of cut off here to the south as well. Some very, very interesting weather patterns, to say the least, over the east. And obviously, we also have this big time storm over the west, bringing impacts out there as well. So really just an impactful and very interesting pattern we find ourselves in for a lot of these areas across the west and the east, actually, at this point. As we take this towards Wednesday, and this is going to be the 14th here, we can see that the east is still dealing with some scattered thunderstorms throughout the deeper south, the mid-Atlantic, and the northeast here, as you can see, and even into Canada. So very, very interesting stuff. In the west, still dealing with this 992 millibar low pressure center that is dipping down and bringing impacts up and down the western United States. By Thursday here, the 15th, we could see, again, a little bit more scattered about and isolated at this point, but there is still some pockets of storms across the east worth mentioning, and same story out west due to that strong storm. By Friday, we see that this creates, this low up here, that is, creates a very intense looking frontal boundary here throughout the upper Midwest, and that could bring some thunderstorm impacts. Also, the Northeast kind of dealing with some more thunderstorm activity. They certainly need the precipitation, and it looks like it's picking up in a big way for you guys out there in the Northeast. Let's move this towards Saturday, the 17th here, and as you can see, this frontal boundary here moves more into the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, deeper south area there. Also, the Northeast, or Northwest, better yet, we're seeing another pocket of storminess moving in. And then we can see this one moving out for the northeast. So we're kind of seeing this rotation of storms. Then Sunday on Father's Day here, we can see another pocket of scattered thunderstorms has now arrived for the eastern United States, maybe setting in a new very stormy pattern for the east again. We can see out west our next storm system is also moving in here. By Monday here on June 19th, we could see again kind of up and down the east coast some thunderstorm activity. Even some snowfall for the Northwest. Very unusual stuff here. This looks much more like an April map, maybe May, but in late June, potentially heavy snowfall for the mountainous areas of the Northwest. I mean, highly, highly unusual here. See this much snowfall still lingering in. Kind of leads you to believe that this summer might be quite cold, like we've been talking about. To see the model still indicating snowfall into late June. Highly, highly unusual stuff. You can see 997 here. Low pressure center, so this is actually a very strong system as well. And then for the east, we can see that there is just all around kind of very, very isolated thunderstorms still taking place by this point. And then as we move into Thursday as well, we see this storm lifts off and moves out for the west. But we still see these kind of pockets of storminess, especially through the east here, taking place. Now the total precipitation through the next 10 days looks pretty significant there for the Northwest and also throughout the east here. Anywhere in the reds is where we're taking a look at above average amounts, and we see plenty of this happening throughout the states. As we move on to total snowfall, we can see this is all but increased here. Really just increased significantly over the last few days here on the modeled guidance. And I mean, really, in late June, we're going to see this picking back up to levels that we haven't seen since maybe early May. Very unusual stuff. As we take a look at the temperature anomalies coming up, we can see this cool down is going to set in for the early to midweek. Even into the late week, we're dealing with some below normal temperatures throughout the east. And then we get kind of an interesting pattern where we get this kind of warm in the center, cold on both coasts here. The east staying cold here. We do see this ridging taking place across the middle portions and a very sharp dip there throughout the west in a more major trough there. We see this kind of continues. I mean, even as the warmth stays in the central and east, we still see this cooler air hold on all the way through June 27th. So a very, very interesting sight to behold. The warmth is not able to take over in the east, where we've called for historically cold temperatures potentially this season. Very, very interesting. Now, here's how things have gone. I'll refresh this. Actually, this is from yesterday. As of today, this is how things have gone over the past 30 days. Very cold in that same region, as you can see here, for the eastern seaboard. Even the south central has been cooler than normal so far. I'm going to put a down arrow in the below average areas here. And then pretty significantly warm here through the northwest. And then also the upper Midwest here and south central Canada there have all been above average. So that's how the past 30 days have looked. And in case you're curious, even the past 90 days, I mean, it looks very similar to this, except we see more significant cool air throughout a majority of the United States here. But very cool spring we've had, very cool summer we've had thus far. Meteorological spring, of course, starting on June 1st. We got a couple of comments from people saying it's not even summer yet, but meteorological summer starts on June 1st. That's what weather people pay attention to. You know, I don't care what the calendar says. It's all about when the weather is switching seasons, and that's going to be much more in line with June 1st to September 1st for fall, to December 1st for winter, to March 1st for spring. That is going to be your more significant dates of weather changing on a season basis. Now, the CFS forecast, we're going to go week by week. So week 1 looking like this, pretty significant cold air here for the east. Let's take this to the 19th through the 26th, and we can see that cold still hanging on, a little bit less significant, just like we saw from the European models. Then the 26th through the 3rd of July, we still see cooler air set up over here. Let's take this from the 3rd of July through the 10th of July, and look at that, still blue all across the board. The 10th through the 17th of July, we're still seeing blue. Let's see, the 17th through the 23rd, it looks like some yellow wants to move in. It's not going to be cold the whole time, but look at that, still blue for the eastern seaboard. And then for the end of the model run, we actually see for the 20th through the 27th of July, this blue makes a comeback. So that warm period would be very brief, and maybe even through August, dealing with mostly cold temperatures in the east, as we've expected. Ever since our summer forecast from a couple of months ago, we've anticipated cooler temperatures in the east, and that has been nothing but the case. It has certainly been the entire ride, I mean, almost without break. That has been what has been happening. Very, very interesting stuff. When you compare this to our analogs here for the summertime, it's much in par with what our analogs have called for. Very cool throughout the east. And honestly, if anything is inaccurate, I'd say this bluest area would need to be closer to the eastern seaboard to be perfect. But maybe we will see more of this type of a pattern set in. We also need to see some warming here for the northwest for this to be perfect. But we don't let good be the enemy, or perfect be the enemy of good. That's one of my favorite sayings. You know, we don't always want to just be searching for perfection or nothing. Sometimes good is good enough, and I think this is good. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. The trilogy maps are in the description and pinned comment down below. I'd appreciate it if you guys check those out at least and see if you might be interested. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day, and we're going to be going over all of these things throughout the year. Also, you can hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.